torchbearers of Islam. The Mawali carried Islam. The Persians, the former slaves, they carried Islam. They loved the religion, they embraced it, they became the scholars of this tradition. Imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees these people, they enter into Islam so beautifully. They didn't take it by compulsion, but they took it after being convinced and then became its greatest practitioners. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need this to happen. La ikraha fid din. The end of this ayah, by the way, because the other story, so imagine the father who's trying to force his kids to become Muslim after they became Christian. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions al-urwatul wuthqa in this verse, the trustworthy handhold. That is referring to an opposite scenario. Qais ibn Abbad says that one time a man walked into the masjid and he had these signs of beautiful humility. So he's talking about the second generation of Muslims, the tabi'een. So this man walked in and he had these beautiful signs on him of humility and worship. And so the people started to say, هذا الرجل من أهل الجنة. That guy is from the people of paradise. So he said, I got curious, so I went up to him and said, the people are saying you're from the people of Jannah. He said, SubhanAllah, people shouldn't say what they don't know. And he said, but the reason they say that is because I had this dream once. By the way, the man is Abdullah ibn Salam, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the rabbi of Medina who became Muslim. He said, I had this dream in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that I was in this garden. And in the middle of the garden, there was a pole. The bottom of the pole was in the earth. The pole extended all the way through the heavens. And at the top of it, there was a handhold. And so I walked to the pole, this beautiful garden, and I looked up, and then I was told, ascend. And I said, how am I going to get there? And then an angel picked me up all the way to that handhold, and I gripped onto that handhold. And then I woke up holding on to that handhold. So I told the Prophet ﷺ what happened. The Prophet ﷺ said, أَمَّا الرَّوْضَ فَرَوْضَةُ الْإِسْلَامِ وَأَمَّا الْعَمُودِ فَعَمُودُ الْإِسْلَامِ. He said that this garden is the garden of Islam. This pole is the pole of Islam. And he says, as for that handhold, فَهِيَ الْعُرْوَةُ الْوُثْقَى. It is the trustworthy handhold that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about in the Quran. It is La ilaha illallah. And he said, Ya Abdullah, أنت على الإسلام حتى تموت. You're going to be upon Islam until you die. You're not just a rabbi who got caught in the moment. No, you're going to become a scholar of Islam. You will remain on Islam until you die. SubhanAllah, the opposite equation. You have a man that tried to force his kids to become Muslim, and you have a rabbi who had every reason not to become Muslim from a worldly perspective, who saw through all of it, who embraced Islam and became one of the greatest scholars of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to this reality of the truth speaking for itself. Why is it, O people of Mecca, قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ كَانَ مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ وَكَفَرْتُمْ بِهِ وَشَهِدَ شَاهِدٌ مِّن بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ عَلَى مِثْلِهِ فَآمَنَ وَاسْتَكْبَرْتُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lectures the people of Mecca and says, what is wrong with you all? Consider that this may be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a witness from the children of Israel has embraced it, and he believed and you had pride. What's wrong with you all? This is your own brother. This is your tribesman. You know his character, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You knew him for all of these years. You should have been the first to recognize the truthfulness of this man, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But you disbelieved, you had pride. Why? What happened to you? What got in the way? Whereas this man, all the way in Medina, a Jewish rabbi who has everything to lose in terms of position, immediately says, this is the truth. What's wrong with you? A man comes all the way from Persia, escaping the chains of his father, escaping death, goes around the whole world to end up being enslaved over 13 times until he's in Medina to embrace the Prophet ﷺ. Salman al-Farisi radiallahu ta'ala anhu. What's your problem that you can't see this man? You can't understand the truth that's in front of you. An-Najashi radiallahu ta'ala anhu hears the Quran recited from afar and hears about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, never actually meets him face to face, but falls into tears, recognizing the truth, and says, "Lawla ma ana fihi min al-mulk." Had I not been in the situation of kingdom, I would have gone to him sallallahu alaihi wasallam so I could carry his sandals for him. Why is it that he recognizes and you can't recognize? Is the problem with the truth, or is the problem with the barriers that you have put between you and the truth?